If love is the source of our existence, is a source of our being, then what is friendship? I've been thinking about it so often, and I was contemplating. The more I contemplated, the more it led me to more questions, even with some observations I've had. And that is, oh my gosh, Smishi, I don't remember a single time in my life where somebody talked about friendship in terms of what is a friend or how I be a friend or what I should look at if I choose a friend. Nobody, nobody ever talked to me about it. To me, a friend is someone who witnesses an aspect of your purpose, even an aspect, even a tiny aspect, because they're supporting your evolution. And I think the same for myself. Um, but whoever talks about that, have you ever read anything or um, heard the definition? Did you grow up with a concept of a friend, or did people speak to you about what a friend is?
No. And actually, I think most of us enter into all kinds of relationships without any guidelines to the qualities that we're looking for, which is
Mm.
so interesting. It's like, can you imagine buying a car without knowing the details, or buying the car without, or buying a house without knowing how many bedrooms it has? It's almost like we don't even know. We don't know. I remember when I first learned the definition of what character was and how it was different from personality.
Mm.
And in my spiritual teachings, when you're investigating the character of somebody to marry them, that's what it's called. It's like you investigate somebody's character. And
Mm.
I remember asking myself, what does that mean?
Mm.
And then I figured out for myself what the definition, like how that differentiated with personality. And just that little understanding was so huge. It's like personality is how somebody treats you, but character is how they treat everybody.
Mm. Well, it seems that, you know, friendship, even if it is defined in some way, I mean, even if you know what you are looking for, or who's a good person to you, what you consider good character, because character is so vast. That's a whole nother that's a whole
Mhm.
nother conversation, because we don't get that emphasized in life except at home. And
Mm.
if we don't get that, not just spoken of, but exemplified, consciously spoken of, consciously exemplified, then we sort of figure it out as we go. Perhaps you saw a movie or read a book or a poem that inspired you to understand an aspect of someone's character. And, like when we see a hero or a superhero, and they are the embodiment of virtue. That's the first time that we're exposed to the concept of character. For some children, that's true. And I think that's why we can get sucked into the morass of personalities. As if somebody is very savvy. I know, for example, when I was growing up, we were not allowed to watch television. And I would say the majority of what kids talked about at recess was television shows. Who did what happened? Oh my gosh, did you see it last night? And so it was probably the majority of conversation topics. And I do remember just thinking, but why? Why do we care what was on television? Why is that? What makes certain kids got popular, because they could either imitate the characters or they watched it in a different way, or everybody wanted to be like them. Did you experience that as well?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And actually, I was a big part of that. I feel like,
Huh.
well, for me, it was a form of connection because it was like, wait, what? You watch that too? I watched
Mm.
that.
Mm. I think that makes sense. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being socially current, connected. It's like when in Rome, you have to speak the language of where you are. I just don't think it applies to a lack of character, and that's where the gray area comes in because what happens, for example, if you don't even have a definition of what a true friend is, like where does the concept of backbiting fit in? Because that's backbiting is such a precursor to prejudice, such a condition that feeds racism and every other, spiritual disease that separates peoples based on artificialities,
Mhm.
things that are superficial. And um, so I wonder about that.